Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. So, I of course have seen Wonder Woman, as I'm sure all of you have. I won't make any spoilers until near the end, so you can keep this going for now if you haven't seen the film. I've been hearing a lot of, obviously, great reviews. It's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, a website which I hate. It's the first DC movie of the new crop that apparently both critics and fans alike are loving, and I couldn't be happier. I love the movie myself. It was full of hope, emotion, fun, action, woman empowerment, just hero worship. It was just great. The fact that Gal is a fantastic Wonder Woman, I knew it from the moment she was cast, even before she showed up in Batman v Superman. Steve Trevor, as portrayed by Chris Pine, fantastic. But this is a Superman homepage, not a Wonder Woman homepage, so what am I getting at here? What I'm getting at is, obviously there are a lot of great reviews about Wonder Woman, but I'm also hearing, within those great reviews, some of the same things we've come to expect from these critics who continually praise Marvel and continually bash DC. While at the same time they like the DC television programs, but also like the Marvel programs that are on television. And those are mostly on Netflix. And the ones that are on Netflix are extremely dark, much more based in reality, much more about heroes who have doubts and make mistakes and change their mind and sometimes feel despair, but then come through it in the end, which is something we all root for as human beings because we all go through those things. So when they do that sort of thing to a Superman, everybody freaks out because Superman's always supposed to know the answer. Superman's always supposed to be positive no matter what's going on. Even when his mother's life is in danger, he doesn't know where she is, and they have her there and they're threatening to kill her unless he kills Batman, as was the case in Batman v Superman. Now in Batman v Superman, Superman says things like, "No one stays good in this world, Lois." Wah, okay. It's emo Superman, okay. It's depressed Superman, okay. It's Superman who is at his lowest point of despair, helpless because his mother is missing. Let's not go into the fact that he could just fly above the earth, listen to her heartbeat, and know where she was, because that was a slight oversight, and they do that in TV and movies all the time because they want to get to a certain thing that they want to get to, and that is having Batman eventually save Martha so that Superman and Batman become friends. They do it on the CW shows all the time. They do it on other shows that I watch. One day somebody can do something very easily, but later on they want to write a dilemma that he can't solve, and when we look at it we go, well, why can't he just do what he did before? Well, because that was last week and now they're trying to present a new problem, and if they could use the same thing that they've used before to solve every problem, then we wouldn't have a show. So let's just forget that he did that before, or assume that for some reason this time he can't do it, and he needs Batman now in the Batman v Superman movie to go. So yes, Superman is full of despair and people hate to see that. They'd rather see him winking at the camera, saving cats from trees, and smiling as he flies off into space. I get that, but since the new DC crop is supposed to be, other than Suicide Squad from what it looked like, set in a more realistic world, a more gritty world, a more down-to-earth world that has huge circumstances going on, fantastical circumstances going on, but that it could be our world, that it could be the real world. That's what the new DC films are about. So in such a negative place, in such a dark place, there can be goodness found, but even Superman can be downtrodden. Even Superman can be full of despair. A world full of people that he's already saved once is doubting him, has doubted him from the beginning, has called for him leaving the earth, has called him terrible names, have called into doubt who he is and what he stands for. It's enough to bring even a Superman down. So yes, he's frustrated. Yes, he's full of despair. And yes, he says, not everyone stays good in this world, because he's confused and he doesn't know what he's going to do to save his mother. And it seems like the only option to him is to go fight Batman. So he goes and he does it. Meanwhile, his brain's working. Meanwhile, he's thinking through his frustration, through his anger, through getting frustrated further with Batman, who uses kryptonite on him. But he holds back. Clearly he holds back, because if he didn't, he would have put his fist right through Batman. And I know I'm covering some of this stuff that I have covered before, but I have a new vision now, and this is where I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilerific stuff about Wonder Woman. In Wonder Woman, she's the beacon of hope that Superman was supposed to be, that everyone is saying in these other reviews. And thanks now that Zack Snyder's not involved, we finally get to see color in a movie. Even though they used the same color palette and maybe just brightened it up slightly, it's still the dark grays, it's still the realistic colors. It's not suddenly a Marvel film, it's not suddenly full of color, it's not suddenly bright and happy. There is some more humor, yes, but there was some humor in the other films. This one has a little more, mostly from Chris Pine, with a few elements from Gal herself. So there is some laughter, but at the same time, it's still very serious, very gritty, very dark, and the colors are still in that DCEU color scheme, which maybe was Zack's idea, but at the same time, that's what they've made these DC films feel like. That's where they want them to be. They don't want to become Marvel, even if the critics want them to. So that's what I'm hearing. Thank God that Zack Snyder was not involved in this, even though you're wrong, because he was heavily involved in this. He wrote the story with other people. He infused it with a lot of the feel that it has, but of course, Patty Jenkins deserves great praise, and I gave it to her. Gal deserves great praise, and I gave it to her. It's a different movie. It's not by Zack, but he was involved, and this is the way he wanted it to feel, and Patty brought all that to life. He's the godfather of the film, so whether you like it or not, he had a lot to do with this, and he will continue as long as he doesn't quit completely because of his own family issues. It will continue to have his influence on him. He will come back and he will keep doing it. But in Wonder Woman goes through a point of despair, even though she's the beacon of hope, even though she's positivity, even though she wants to fight for humanity. She too has her faith tested. She too gives up, although Superman never did. She says, I can't come with you anymore, Steve, I'm sorry. And Steve has to go back to their friends and say, we're on our own, she's not coming, because she lost faith in humanity. Similar to what Superman almost thought he was going to have to do, but instead, because of his depth of heart and because he couldn't give up on humanity, he allowed Batman to stay in the fight. He allowed Batman to win. He allowed Batman to get to the point where he was about to kill Superman, and Superman brought out his humanity through the Martha connection, through his mother, through his love of humanity itself, and saved Batman. Whereas Wonder Woman only came around after Steve suicided himself. Spoiler, spoiler. And he himself saved the world at that moment. Then Wonder Woman said, wait a minute, I gotta save the world. That was a human. Even though I lost all faith in them, he went up there and he killed himself in order to stop this deadly plague from being released on the world. So now, I was wrong about humanity. They are still worth saving, and suddenly she was able to realize her full potential and defeat Ares and win the day. As Steve said, I can win today, you can win the future, you can save the world forever. And that's what she stays around and does. But Superman, on the other hand, said no one stays good in this world forever, while at the same time, through the entire battle with Batman, he was the ultimate good, because he just stood there and took it. Pushed him down a couple times, but no major damage. Got a little angry, the suit got a little destroyed, but he could have just put the fist right through it right at the beginning. But he had hope. He thought he could convince Batman. He knew he could convince Batman, and he did it. All the while never giving up on his own humanity, and never giving up on the world, and then coming out of that battle, and of course saving the world once again. Regardless of what everyone on the planet was saying, regardless of how bad reviews of him were, he still kept coming. And Wonder Woman does the same thing and has the same point of despair and has the same moment where she gives up. She shakes her head and says she's not a part of it anymore. But of course, the Wonder Woman movie is great, and there's no talk about her being out of character or her never supposed to be going into that pit of despair. The pit of despair! Don't even think about it. Anyway, so that's my point. I loved Wonder Woman. I thought it was great. I love the DCEU so far. I haven't watched Suicide Squad. Probably won't. Didn't interest me. But there's a lot of double standards. And the way this series is going, these are heroes who are not completely infallible, but who eventually make the right choice in the end. And sometimes, Steve, sometimes before they can win, some bad things have to happen around them. But at the same time, they're staying true to themselves, staying hopeful, except sometimes, and then they come back from that. because they're more like us than we think. Thanks everybody for watching, and remember, always look up in the sky. Because of his
la 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 la.